Nightingale fell from atop a fire escape and landed on a woman's head. The gangster had just ripped off a red-headed lad last week and cut his face up pretty hard. He was just going to buy groceries. That was part of her initiation. Nightingale was going to make her pay, and everyone with her. Her silhouette rose to full height. Several female thugs brandished knives. Nightingale flickered out 2 boomerangs. They flew as the foolish gang charged. So also flew 2 small gas balls. They busted, and the air filled with gas. They all coughed and sputtered and soon began to sway. Some ran towards her out of the cloud of gas, but only to stagger and sway like a drunk person. They were easy to take down, some with 1 punch. Some fell right in front of her and didn't even make it to her waiting fists. Nightingale merely walked about and handcuffed the ones she didn't hit with a baton she had flicked out. Then she handcuffed those as well. Finding a phone with a video of the crime taken for gloating purposes, she emailed the video and a photo of the criminals and the exact street and alleyway they were in to the police.
"Looks like you all played yourselves, idiots."
Crash. Nightingale spun. Glass shattered nearby. But where? She turned down the alley, sprinted down into it, and turned a corner. A local murder mill, also known as an abortion clinic. She suddenly remembered the first time they started working against them. Night Shadow walked up behind Kathy as she typed away on a piece of code while various articles sat on another screen. "What are you working on, Kathy?" Night Shadow inquired.
"Oh, a virus."
"I beg your pardon?" "It was my idea," Adams said as he walked around the corner. "We infiltrated a murder mill today in our disguises and picked up some emails for the location."
"We also did some profiling and chatted some,"
Kathy added. "What on earth for?" "You recall our conversation about how we can't immediately attack their location directly, lest the hate of the government be against us utterly and hinder our operations day to day?" "Yes." "We had an idea. What if we use our VPN to bounce our IP address across several countries?"
"Like those known for scamming?"
Kathy added as she typed faster. "Then upload a virus and make the exe or the link look like a link their employees will want to click."
"And when they click it, they get a visit from Antoine de Nova,"
Kathy added with a hint of mischief. "But how will you know who wants to click what?" Shadow inquired further with a skeptical eyebrow raise. "Well, Kathy left some bugs behind and we listened."
The trash these ladies listen to, watch, and read. Gross."
Kathy made a face with an exposed tongue. "She's working on code as well that will allow the virus and even some malware to upload as the emails open without even opening the link. They're also designed to interrupt day-to-day services and or slow their machines down. Title it to look like their current flame, and they answer ASAP." "That's astounding." The corner of Night Shadow's mouth began to rise into a smile.
"And when the malware sees where they are receiving funds from and who they are,"
Kathy shuddered.
"Selling parts to..."
Everyone's faces got darker at that statement.
"Then we can send that info anonymously to the authorities."
"Brilliant," Night Shadow affirmed. They all watched her work for a moment. "I still wish I could take that place down, brick per brick, right now. Forget donating the murderers' ultrasounds to preborn centers. They were probably so abused and under maintenance they would be useless anyway. And just the fact most, if not all, their equipment is tainted with the blood of the innocent." They all agreed silently as Kathy worked. Coming back to the present, she shuddered inwardly at the wicked child sacrifice that went on inside those evil places. But it was very late at night, and this one was closed. Dark. Lights out, and doors locked. No employees stayed inside. They had made their blood money for the day and gone home. Crash! Okay, something was definitely up in there. Time to investigate. Sneaking past the camera's obvious blind spots, Nightingale wondered to herself why they hadn't been broken into earlier with how much they didn't spend on security.
"Probably wanting to pocket as much murder money as they can,"
she thought. Smash! She almost jumped. She peered into a broken window with a very large hole in it. A shadow was rummaging about. It suddenly lifted to its full height and raised up a massive machine. The massive man-sized shadow heaved the machine with all his might, and it smashed mightily against the front desk, exploding fantastically in sparks and light. And in that instant, Nightingale thought she caught a glimpse of his face. He seemed familiar, but it was only for a second. She hoped for another flash. Zap. But he had turned away. The electrical kept shorting and sparking. The occasional strobe of light showed the massive shadow marching up to a wall. He placed his hand onto a portion of it, and then began to push with all of his might. The wall cracked. The building audibly responded. He was going to bring the wall down. A louder crumbling sound also followed. That was a support wall. He was going to bring down the whole building. And as if on command, he visibly strained and shoved all the harder, and the wall began to give, and the ceiling dropped debris.
This place should have been condemned. It's coming down with ease.
But then she recognized it and realized where she was. This was the first one Adam and her visited in disguise much earlier in their career. They had hindered it significantly, but it was still open due to federal funding.
This place may be under the weather, but that still takes incredible strength to...
And then it hit her. Why here first? Why did he look familiar? She only got a glance, but could it be? No. And then she noticed the building was coming down as a massive chunk struck the floor in front of her. And she quickly glanced about and saw all the other support structures had been punched, kicked, or otherwise weakened, or even knocked out.
Hey, look out! It'll come down on top of you!
And he suddenly stopped and looked back. And at that moment an arc of electrical wiring provided enough light to expose most of his face for a brief second. And Nightingale gasped. No. Her eyes had to be playing tricks on her. The stress from Adam being dead, returning from the dead only to die again. The psychological desire for the brain to want to see familiar things where there are none. That had to be it. There was no way this could be Adam. Concrete snapped, and a very loud escalation rumble grew to its climax. And the building came down as her screams came up. She leapt back from the debris and the smoke and the dust. After the noise of rumble settled, she rose to her feet and looked about. Nothing but debris.
No, 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 no!
She tried to pick her way into the rubble, but someone cried out at the noise from across the road. People had heard. It was time to leave. But she couldn't just leave him. What if it was Adam? Regardless, whoever it was did a good thing and needed help. And then the rubble shifted, then grew, and chunks of concrete fell out of place. And then a dark silhouette slowly rose from the fallen building.
That's impossible,
Nightingale mumbled with eyes wide. People were starting to gather from the nearby alleys and make noise to call attention to the situation. Nightingale looked about. A police siren from the call she made about her recent capture was also rising in the air. It was time to leave. Rubble fell and flew. She turned back to the man, but he was gone. She looked about frantically, but saw nothing. She sprinted away and grappled to a rooftop.